Hello, everyone, and welcome back to World of English. I'm your host, Ina, and I am so happy to be with you today.
And I'm Ali. Hello, everyone.
Allie, good morning. How was your morning? Did you have a good breakfast?
Actually, I did. I had some bread with honey. It was delicious. And you? How was your morning?
That sounds perfect. My morning was a little busy, but I'm happy now because we get to talk together. So, Allie, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where someone asks you a simple question in English and suddenly you feel like you forget everything?
Oh, Ina, yes, many times. It happens to me a lot. For example, last week, a neighbor came to me. He is from another country. And he said, "Hi, I'm new here. What's your name? What do you do?" And I said, "My name is Ali." Then silence. I wanted to say more, but my brain just stopped. I felt a little awkward.
Awkward. That is the perfect word. And you know what? This is so common. So many learners feel the same. We can say, my name is, and maybe our job, but then we don't know how to keep the conversation going.
Exactly. And I don't want to give a long speech, I just want to talk naturally. But when I try, my sentences feel strange, not connected.
That is exactly what we are going to solve today. Today, we are going to learn how to talk about yourself in English, naturally, not like a job interview, not like a test, like a real, friendly conversation.
Really? I would love that. Because I have many things to say about myself, but sometimes the words don't come out smoothly.
And that is why we are here. By the end of today's lesson, you will have a simple, clear way to introduce yourself and talk about your life without feeling stuck. Ready?
I am ready. Let's do it.
Now, before we dive into the lesson, I want to ask you, our listener, for a small favor.
A favor? What kind of favor?
A very easy one. If you are finding this lesson helpful, please hit the like button. It helps other learners just like you find our podcast. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any future episodes.
Oh, yes. And also, if you have a friend or family member who is also learning English, please share this episode with them. Learning together is always easier.
Exactly. We want as many people as possible to feel confident speaking English. So thank you in advance for your support. Now, let's get into the lesson.
Yes, please teach me. What is the secret?
The secret is actually very simple. When someone asks you about yourself, you don't need to give a long speech. You don't need to tell them your whole life story. You just need to give them one thing after your name.
One thing? That's it?
That's it. I call it the name plus one thing formula. It is simple, effective, and it keeps the conversation moving without pressure.
Okay. So let's say someone asks, "What's your name?" I say, "My name is Ali." Then I add one thing, like, "I am a teacher."
Yes, exactly. My name is Allie. I am a teacher. That is a perfect start. You gave your name and you gave one thing about yourself. You are a teacher. Now the other person can ask you a question about that one thing.
Oh, I see. So if I say I am a teacher, they might ask, "What do you teach?" And then I can answer that.
Now you understand. See how easy it is? You don't have to prepare a long introduction. You just give a little piece of information and the conversation grows naturally.
I like this. It feels much lighter. So let me practice. My name is Ali. I am a teacher.
Beautiful, simple, clear, and confident. Now, what if you are not a teacher? What if you are a student?
Then I would say, "My name is Ali. I'm a student."
Perfect again. Or if you work in a company, you can say, my name is Ali. I work in an office. See? Name plus one thing.
Oh, this is so simple. I can do this. I always thought I had to prepare a long answer with many details, but this feels natural.
That's the goal, Ali, to feel natural. And now that we have the basic formula, in the next chapter, we are going to add something very important to make your sentences even stronger.
Something stronger? I'm ready. Let's keep going.
So now we have the name plus one thing formula. You can introduce yourself and share a little piece of information. But Ali, what if you want to share something you enjoy, something you love to do in your free time?
Ah, that's a good question. Because when I meet someone new, they often ask, "What do you like to do?" And then I say, "I like photography." But then the conversation stops again.
Exactly. And that happens because the sentence, I like photography, is a fact, but it doesn't invite the other person to connect with you. So we need to add one small word that changes everything.
One word? What word?
The word because.
Because?
Yes, when you add because, you give a reason, and a reason makes your sentence come alive. Let me show you. Instead of saying, I like photography, you say, I like photography because it helps me see the world differently.
Oh, I see. The because makes it personal. It's not just a fact anymore, it's a story.
Exactly. And when you share a reason, the other person can respond. They might say, oh, that's interesting. How did you start? Or, I feel the same way about painting. Now you have a real conversation.
Okay, let me try. I love reading books. Actually, I love reading books because they take me to new places without leaving my home.
Ali, that was a beautiful sentence. I love reading books because they take me to new places without leaving my home. That is natural, that's personal, and it makes me want to ask you, what kind of books do you like?
See, now I have to answer another question.
That's the magic. You don't give everything at once. You give just a little with a reason, and the conversation keeps flowing. So let's practice a few more ways to express your interests.
Okay, I'm listening.
We have I like, which is good, but we also have I love for things you really, really enjoy, and I enjoy, which sounds a little more formal but very polite.
So, I love photography is stronger than I like photography.
Yes, exactly. Let's hear the difference. Say, I like cooking.
I like cooking.
Now say, I love cooking.
I love cooking.
Can you hear the difference? The second one has more feeling. Now let's put it together with because. What's something you love to do?
I love walking in the park.
Great. Now add because.
I love walking in the park because it helps me relax after a busy day.
Perfect. Now you have a full, natural sentence. You told me what you love and why. If I heard that, I would say, that sounds lovely. I should try that.
This is really working. I feel like I can finally express myself without overthinking.
And that's the goal. So now we have the name plus one thing formula, and we know how to add because to talk about our interests. In the next chapter, we are going to put everything together in a real conversation.
A real conversation? I'm a little nervous, but also excited.
Don't worry, I'll be asking the questions and you just use what we learned. It will feel natural, I promise. Okay, Allie, are you ready to try a real conversation?
I think so, but be gentle with me.
Always gentle. I'm going to ask you some simple questions, just like someone new you just met would ask, and you are going to answer using everything we practiced, name plus one thing, and because to share your interests. Ready?
Ready.
Okay, let's imagine we just met. I'll start. Hi there, I don't think we've met before. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Allie.
Nice to meet you, Allie. And what do you do?
I am a teacher. I teach English to young learners.
Oh, that's wonderful. That must be an interesting job. What do you like to do when you're not teaching?
I love reading books because they take me to new places without leaving my home.
Oh, that is a beautiful answer. I feel the same way about reading. What kind of books do you enjoy?
I enjoy stories about travel and adventure. They make me feel excited to learn about the world.
That's lovely. Well, it was really nice talking with you, Allie.
It was nice talking with you too.
Oh, Allie, that was wonderful. You did it.
Really? It felt surprisingly natural. I wasn't thinking too much. I was just answering.
Exactly, and that's the secret. You used your sentences without pressure. Let's look at what you did. First, you gave your name. Then you added one thing. You are a teacher. Then, when I asked about your free time, you used love and because together. I love reading books because they take me to new places.
And then I added a little more when you asked about the kind of books.
Yes, you gave just enough. You didn't tell me your whole life story. You let the conversation grow naturally. That is the goal.
I feel so much more confident now. Before, I thought I needed to prepare a long speech about myself. But now I see that I can just share small pieces, one at a time.
That is exactly right. Talking about yourself is not a test. It's a conversation. You share something, the other person asks a question, you share a little more. Simple.
So, in this conversation, I started with my name and my job. Then I shared my interest with because, and that gave the other person something to ask about.
You summarized it perfectly. Now, in our next chapter, I want to answer a question that I know many learners have.
What question is that?
The question is, what if you don't have a special job? Or what if you don't have a big, exciting hobby? How do you talk about yourself then?
Oh, that is a very important question. I've had that feeling too. What if I feel like I have nothing interesting to say?
Don't worry, we are going to cover that next. There are always natural, polite ways to answer, even when you want to keep things simple.
Ina, I want to ask you something that I think about a lot.
Please do. That's what I'm here for.
In the conversation we just had, I said I am a teacher and I said I love reading books. But what if someone doesn't have a special job? Or what if they don't have a big, exciting hobby? What if they feel like they have nothing interesting to say about themselves?
That is such an important question, Ely, and I want everyone listening to hear this clearly. You do not need to have a dramatic job or a famous hobby to talk about yourself naturally.
Really? Because sometimes I feel pressure to sound interesting.
I understand that feeling, but the truth is, most people live simple lives, and simple is beautiful. Simple is relatable. So let me show you how to talk about yourself even when you feel like you have nothing special to share.
Okay, please teach me.
First, let's talk about jobs. Not everyone has a specific job title, like teacher or doctor, and that's perfectly fine. Instead of saying, I am a, you can say, I work in, and then name the field.
Give me an example.
For example, if someone works in an office but doesn't have a specific title, they can say, I work in an office, or I work in customer service, or I work in administration. It's simple, honest, and natural.
So instead of saying I am I can say I work in. That feels easier. I don't have to explain my exact job title.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about hobbies. What if someone doesn't have a big hobby like photography or reading?
What can they say?
They can say something like, in my free time, I mostly just relax, or I enjoy spending time with my family, or I like to take walks when I can.
Those are simple, but they sound real. They sound like things people actually do.
Exactly. You don't need to say, I am a professional painter who exhibits in galleries. You can say, I like to draw sometimes when I have free time. It helps me relax. That is a natural, honest answer.
So the key is honesty. I don't have to pretend to be someone I'm not.
Yes, honesty is always better. And here's another phrase that is very useful. What if someone asks you about something and you simply don't have a strong opinion or you don't want to share too much?
What can I say then?
You can say, I don't really have a strong opinion about that, or I haven't thought much about it, or even, that's not something I usually talk about, but I'm happy to listen.
Oh, I like that last one. I'm happy to listen. That keeps the conversation friendly without putting pressure on myself.
Exactly. You are still participating in the conversation. You are still being polite and friendly. You just don't have to force an answer.
This is so helpful. I always thought I had to have a perfect answer for every question, but now I see that I can be simple. I can be honest. I can even say, I don't know much about that.
And that is completely okay. The goal of a conversation is connection, not performance. When you are honest and relaxed, people feel comfortable with you.
So to summarize, if I don't have a special job, I can say I work in instead. If I don't have a big hobby, I can say something simple, like I enjoy spending time with family. And if I don't have an answer, I can say I haven't thought much about that.
You remembered everything. That is a perfect summary. Now, Ely, I think it's time for our listeners to try.
Oh yes, what is the challenge?
Here is the challenge. I want every listener to go to the comment section below this episode and introduce themselves, but not with a long, complicated introduction. I want you to use what we learned today.
So they should use the name plus one thing formula?
Exactly. Write your name and then share one thing about yourself. It could be your job, where you live, or something you love to do. And if you want to make it even stronger, add because and tell us why.
That is a perfect challenge. It's simple, but it uses everything we practiced.
And here is the most important part. Ely and I will read your comments. We want to see your introductions. Learning English is not something you do alone. We are in this together, and reading your answers helps us create better lessons for you.
Yes, please write your introductions. We want to cheer for you. And if you see someone else's comment, you can even reply to them. That is real conversation practice.
Exactly. So here is the challenge one more time. In the comments, write your name, one thing about yourself, and if you want to add because, tell us why.
For example, I could write, "My name is Ely. I am a teacher because I love helping people learn new things."
Perfect example. Now it's your turn, Ely. We can't wait to read your answers. Ely, before we say goodbye, I want to remind our listeners of one more thing.
What's that?
If you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend or family member who is also learning English. Learning together makes everything easier and more fun.
That is so true. When I have a friend to practice with, I feel more confident. So yes, please share this episode. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our podcast so you never miss a new lesson.
We have so many more topics coming. We will talk about how to ask questions naturally, how to talk about your day, and much more.
I'm excited for those lessons. I feel like I already learned so much today.
And that is because you showed up, you listened, and you practiced. To everyone listening, thank you for spending this time with us. Your dedication to learning English is inspiring.
Yes, thank you. We are so happy you were here with us on this journey.
Remember, talking about yourself doesn't have to be difficult. You just need to start with your name, add one thing, and if you want to go deeper, use because to share your reason. And if you ever feel like you have nothing to say, it's okay to keep it simple. Honesty is always enough.
That is a beautiful way to end. I will carry that with me.
So for me, Ely,
And for me, Ely,
keep learning, keep speaking, and we will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.